Hi everyone, my name's Alex, and we're back with another podcast episode for this Octopus at 70 uh, interview series with Malcolm Phillips, the head coach over in UAE. Malcolm, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all. Well, first things first, everyone has their own story about how they got into underwater hockey. What's your story, man?
Yeah, I guess I've been playing since 2000,
Wow.
so almost 20 odd years now. And basically through a family friend who played underwater hockey and went away for a summer vacation with them, and he was like, "Come try this out." So me and his son were close, and so got into it when I was 12, 13 years old. And I was always pretty into all kinds of sports at school and stuff like that. But underwater hockey was just like that new challenge. And so I started playing there in 2000 and played in Durban, South Africa.
Yeah.
And then slowly built myself up the ranks and represented the province and the clubs, and then South Africa for a little bit. And as my career has gone on, now coaching, and that's where I am today.
It's fantastic. What's the underwater hockey scene like in South Africa? Because we're seeing the age group world champs over in Malaysia and South Africa were fantastic to watch now as well. What's the scene like there?
Yeah, underwater hockey in South Africa is very big. Obviously, a very big spearfishing community and very big water based community over there. Different clubs in different provinces have their ups and downs in terms of the numbers. I know where I'm from in Durban, big issue. A lot of us who were there coming through the ranks have all immigrated, so they've
Yes.
lost a lot of their players, and now we're all playing in different parts of the world. A few in Australia, a few in the UK. Myself being going to Canada and now in the UAE. But like as you said, in the U24 age group champs, South Africa really stood out, and they actually had the U24 boys had an unlucky quarterfinal loss to GB. I
Yeah.
think that was like 2 versus 7 or something like that, and it was very unexpected. But really strong junior ranks, and then hopefully that's going to filter up through to the elite level.
Wow. It's really, really great. So you're a coach over in Abu Dhabi, and how's that been? What's your experience been coaching with young people and adult teams, and what's the culture been like for you there?
Yeah, so I guess I started coaching when I went across to Canada first, and then coming across to Abu Dhabi, I got in touch with Lewis Cox, who started. He's actually a British guy who started underwater hockey in Abu Dhabi, and when I arrived, I think they'd been going for about a year or so, and there were probably about 8 to 12 regulars that were here, and not much of a base. So bringing my experience from Worlds and just the basics of skills, and then trying to make it fun, really
Yeah.
got everyone into it. So I think the coaching styles start with the basics, start making feel people having fun, and add different games into the training, and then make sure it's modified enough that we have 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds to 60-year-olds, experienced players, and how can everyone be incorporated to make it fun and safe and enjoyable.
We talked a lot on the podcast about what makes underwater hockey a great sport. You talked about it being great for all ages, kind of with your experience working with young people and kids as well. We get into it. You just started at age 12, right? 12, 13.
Yeah.
What would you say makes it such a great kind of inclusive sport for people of all ages and backgrounds?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great for young kids for water safety and just being safe with underwater, and I market it towards my students at my school. We started like a little club because a lot of our family and our members, like, they like to go overseas and travel to nice beautiful places, and so I was like, oh, I can teach your child how to snorkel. That's
Yeah.
the first step, so it's water safety and putting the head underwater and using the snorkel properly. So you get that kind of basic, and then you interact at the games, and you find that underwater hockey is not as, I guess, strenuous as water polo in terms of being taxing and having to kind of uh, what do they call it? I forget the word now. Anyway, I'm talking about with water polo, we're staying above the water and all that kind of stuff. Um, and underwater hockey, you kind of dive down. You have the fins that help you propel you as well.
Yes.
And then you have, I think, one of the guys that's with us now is mid 60s playing, and very experienced, but still loves the game, and it's just a way for him to keep fit. And he loves swimming. And underwater hockey for me, I've never liked swimming lanes. I've hated swimming, and
No way.
even when I was training for the elite, it was my worst part of the training. But underwater hockey for me was training, being fit, and having a fun time in the swimming pool without having to swim and count tiles as swimmers do. So that's where I see the benefit of underwater hockey.
That's fantastically put. Thank you. I think we've been looking at it, especially university. You put into a situation where you have the swimming and water polo, and they're all there, kind of next to each other, basically, and we have to work out what exactly it is that makes underwater hockey different. And people kind of find themselves stuck between these sports that are very kind of repetitive, like swimming, kind of, and just kind of grindy. You're going to get through that, and these team sports that feel quite closed off. Like there's the rugby and hockey, and there's a very strong established culture that isn't really open to new people. And I feel like underwater hockey does kind of occupy that middle bit. We can be in the
sure.
water, you can enjoy that, but it's also still welcoming and lovely, and you definitely exemplify that.
Yeah.
Yes, with youth teams, how would you find that kind of integrates into making athletes that will play for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, I've looked at it from where I was in South Africa, and I think it's the countries like South Africa, Australia, your Americas, and even in GB, you have kids who start playing and they actually bore themselves through the ranks, and there's not a lot of people who in those ranks as they're playing will leave their countries and leave their places where they're actually starting to play underwater hockey. And there's lots of universities in like GB and around Australia that have underwater hockey. When I was in Canada, we found we were building up the youth only for them to go to university and then stop playing. Here in the UAE, we have the same problem because we're very expat orientated and we're very people move all the time. So we have these young kids who are here. We had one now play with the U19, our captain, and he's leaving us to go to university in Canada. So very hard to keep them. But what we're trying to just instill in them is, I can give you the contacts in Canada to carry on playing. We just want you to carry on playing. And if we've made it fun and made it enjoyable for them, then they will continue playing. And I use my experience by telling them the stories of how, I met my wife through an underwater hockey tournament in Europe. And I've traveled the world playing underwater hockey and met so many great people. And underwater hockey opens everyone up for that because there's so many different tournaments around the world that you can play in and not have to be at an elite level, but just at a club level. Whereas if you're a water polo player or a swimmer, you're probably not going to travel and tour for those things. And so underwater hockey really has that opportunity for people to travel, not just at the elite level, but at a social club level as well.
It's really great. It's interesting you mentioned that about kind of playing as a young person and then going to uni, kind of finding that it's not there as much, and that's I suppose partially because it's not as high profile a sport as we'd like. But I do still think that sport is a sport for life in terms of coming back to it. People that do play are still incredibly passionate and they do try their best in local teams as well. They're everywhere. But yeah, how's competition been recently as a coach? Was you in the Asian Cup?
Yeah, so we just took 3 teams to the Asia Underwater Hockey Underwater Hockey Cup, and that was the eighth version of the cup. And we had three teams: a U19 team, an elite team, and a Masters team. And I didn't know what to expect. My last Worlds was 2018 with Canada, and I saw Malaysia feature in the U24s. And there was a couple of teams that featured in the last Worlds at elite level, but you don't really know what the countries were going to be like. And I felt the standard was pretty high, and it was really encouraging to see the level of underwater hockey happening in those Asian countries. Very proud of our U19 teams who brought back a bronze medal. They were playing 4-side. We only had 6 players, or other teams had 10. So they all had full subs for their 4 players, and we only subbed two players out of our 4. So we had a couple of guys Ironmanning the whole time, and they did us really proud to win that bronze medal against Malaysia in the third, fourth playoff. The elite team was a really good learning curve. I'm probably myself and another player, Emily, is a Chinese international. A few of the others have kind of been around but not played at that world's level before. So it was a good experience for them to see that hard physical level and what training is like and what fitness on that kind of level means is. And I'd say we came sixth out of the 8 teams. Probably could have done fifth. We lost to Malaysia in the fifth, sixth playoff, but those teams have been together for a very long time.
Yeah.
So it's understandable, and I'm not disappointed. I like the way that we played, and it was just a really good learning curve. And then our Masters team, I mean, geez, they came from really losing big games with a high score to narrowly beating those teams the next day, and then just losing to the Philippines in the bronze medal game by I think it was 4-2 or something like that.
Wow.
And so like super proud of all the teams, and I think they all know now if we want to compete, there's a lot more fitness that's required and a lot more effort from everyone on their part in terms of making practices and gaining the skills and learning the strategies, etc.
Absolutely. It sounds like it was a really kind of balanced competition, especially that kind of bronze medal game. Kind of really close to that. That sounds really, really great. Were there any particular kind of standout moments from the competition you'd like to highlight?
For our team or in general?
In your team or anything else?
I mean, I think our teams are pretty good. I mean, some standout moments. I think, like I said, our U9 teams were just exceptional the way they played. A bunch of young kids who I've been coaching since I've arrived in the UAE, so been under my guidance for 3 years now, and they stood up and they stayed up and watched all their videos for like 2 hours each night and went through their games and like analyzed and saw how they could improve, and then went back the next day and actually improved on it and won those games. So it was amazing to see them all come together. And I mean, the biggest highlight is just seeing how we had a lot of players playing tournaments for their first time and how they realized that underwater hockey is just, it brings everyone together.
Yeah.
You have your fights in the water, you have your competition, but you get out the water, you're swapping caps and you're making friends for life, really. And you go to Singapore next time and you're going to be able to stay at someone's house, and you go to Hong Kong and you know another underwater hockey player, and you go to China and you know another underwater hockey player. And those memories for these guys are all the memories that I've had throughout my career. And I think that's a huge standout for me. And then putting the UAE on the map, no one thought that we were going to place or medal or do anything. So the fact that we didn't come last, and everyone was like, well, the UAE actually represented fully here.
Yeah.
And with the CMAS, big CMAS execs there, seeing what we've done, now hopefully going forward, we can really drive underwater hockey in another country and step it up and see where we can go from here.
That's really cool. Where would you like to see, a bit of an offshoot question, but where would you like to see Abu Dhabi underwater hockey in, say, 10 years? What are your... It's a good question, but
I mean, the biggest thing would be, I just hope it keeps going, right? Because we have, like I said, we in this environment where, I'm on a 2-year contract, and then my contract finishes. Maybe myself and my family decide not to stay here forever. We're not everyone lives in Abu Dhabi for a very long time, or the UAE for a very long time. When I leave, my goal is just to make sure that I've put in procedures and put things in place that they can carry on moving forward. And so my goal now is coaching coaches. So I can't be the only one doing it. I need to give my knowledge to the guys that are here, and then so when I leave, someone else can take over. And that way it carries on going in 10 years' time and doesn't fade away or die out when the experience leaves. So my only hope is that it just continues to go, and that we get the support from CMAS and Abu Dhabi Aquatics Club and the UAE federations as well.
I do believe that when you try and put in kind of an ethos and just kind of spread that as far as possible within a team, that it does have far further reaching kind of impacts than you would think. When you pass it on, they change the way they think, and that grows, and hopefully kind of snowballs into the future. Growth is always the most important thing. That's, I really, really agree with all that. I'm jumping about the place. It's just it's interesting stuff. I'm trying to think about.
So good.
I'm just curious, when you're coaching people, I know that kind of it's different in team where there's a lot of kind of newer players as well, but what makes a strong underwater hockey player? Or if you think about players that you've met, that you think, wow, they're top notch, they're really the best. What kind of what things are they doing that make you think that?
I would say the great players obviously have outstanding fitness, but they also have great puck control,
Yeah.
and they are able to move that puck underneath their bodies from left to right, know when to steal, know the right placements, and always have that puck on their stick at the right time. And so when you watch the skills and you watch the junior worlds and you watch the world championships and you watch this Asia Cup, you can see the good players by the ones that always have the puck on their stick and are moving the puck into space rather than trying to move it through bodies.
Yeah.
So the good players are not trying to bash necessarily through a channel, but they're actually moving the puck into space and then releasing it at the right time. So having that puck control is obviously one of the better skills to have as an underwater hockey player.
Absolutely. And would you say in terms of the attitude and the way they approach the sport and training, in terms of attitude and thought process, do you think what kind of attitude creates a strong athlete to you as a coach?
I mean, dedication, right? Underwater hockey is such a hard sport to promote that because we're not a professional sport, and everyone in underwater hockey, barring a couple countries that I know of, we pay to play. We don't get paid to play.
Yes.
So everyone is playing underwater hockey because they love the sport. So you can't take that away. But we all have jobs and commitments that, in our everyday lives and families, etc. So finding the time to have that commitment to train, whether it's waking up at 4 a.m, going for your runs or going for your swims, the players that are the best are making time and dedicating their time to their craft and getting into the pool before the coaches arrive and doing their stick work or doing their swims, right?
Yeah.
One of our players, one of the first things that I put in when I arrived in Abu Dhabi was just dry land skills and showing players how to get to the pool early, getting on their towels, on their hands and knees, and having their gloves and sticks on and moving the puck on the concrete on the floor and just getting their hands moving and then transferring that into the swimming pool. And one of our best players in our elite team, she, without me having to say it, she was leading at every single practice when I would arrive. Without me getting it, she'd have the puck out, she'd be down, she knew exactly what to do, and she was doing it. And this is she won't mind me saying this, a mid 30-year-old woman who is not a professional, but she just loved the sport and wanted to get better. She wanted to be the best. And she's one of our better players in our elite team. And that all came from that dedication, right? And I would single her out and say, look at everyone who is arriving at practice, standing around, chatting and catching up and socializing. You're not going to be as good as her because she's doing that work. That's what makes a great player.
Absolutely. In terms of, that's all great, brother. Thank you. One thing, in terms of kind of promoting the sport, I think that there's a certain thing when, however long you've been playing, you still will sometimes encounter someone who hasn't really seen sport before. And you have to give that kind of small pitch about, not as much what it is, but also why it's great and why you should play it. What's your elevator pitch?
I usually pass the question on to someone who's closest to me, so I don't have to tell the story again. I'm always like, ask them what underwater hockey is. So I get away with having to say that. go through because everyone's like, oh, I've never heard of the sport before. But I mean, I guess I kind of describe it as ice hockey underwater. Sticks are small in your one hand. To kind of describe it as a bait ball, think about a shark feeding frenzy from the top. That's probably what you're going to see from the top. But underwater, there's detail and there's strategy involved, and there's communication without communicating. And I gave a pitch at my school just before the summer break about underwater hockey, and I got them to stand up and basically say play a game with the ball without talking. And it was they found it really hard. And I was like, well, now try doing that holding your breath, and now try doing that swimming, and now try doing that pushing a puck around on the bottom of the pool. And I was like, that's underwater hockey for you. So football is easy because you can communicate and tell a guy when to pass to you. Rugby is easy because you can talk the whole time. I was like, try doing that without talking. That's what makes underwater hockey exciting, because you have to know each other and you have to read each other. And there's strategy involved, and it's a fast-paced game, and there's nothing better than being able to hold your breath and being underwater.
It's amazing. It's a fascinating way to put it. I've never thought of it like that. With something like non-verbal communication, you have to be um, I think that it's a difference because when you first play, it seems so chaotic when you're under there. I think mostly
Yeah.
because you're so concerned with your breathing and sort of think about.
Yeah.
But then after a while, you have to develop that total awareness of where you are and where your teammates are,
Mhm.
without saying anything. And
Yeah.
so I think that the more people know about that, the more that it
Mm.
puts into context when you see it with the underwater cameras at Worlds and
Yeah.
filming it now, um, just showing like how much it takes to coordinate
Yeah.
that pass and that goal you're seeing. You know?
Absolutely. I mean, I think the footage that CMS is putting together right now at these World Championships is
Yeah.
definitely showcasing the sport a lot more. In fact, there's a link, you can see it live. It's definitely building up our sport more than before. When I mean, I remember I started playing and the spectators were hanging on to the lane ropes on the side to watch the game in the water. And yeah, back to what you were saying, our biggest hindrance of the sport is getting those new players into the water and making them feel comfortable around the mess that's going on. You know, the people bumping you, the swallowing water, the mask filling up with water, the fear of breathing and coming up, and so it's a challenge when we bring new players in, because we have to be very careful of how we get them to interact in the game. And I think I've been at different clubs around the world and different ways to kind of ensure that they're safe and they feel comfortable, and then they build their confidence up to getting really heavily involved.
Yeah, I mean we get a lot of kind of freshman students coming in and trying because they've got that kind of hunger there. They want to try something new,
Yeah.
and you can't really get newer and more interesting than this. But when they get in, it's going to that initial shock and be able to see what's so great about it and get to that point as quick as possible. They
Yeah.
stay and love it. Um, but yeah, that's great. I think that's basically it. I don't know if there's anything else we'd like to chat about. But it's been so dense and stuff. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of competitions are you looking forward to? Your team taking part in, or to watch as well? What's looking forward to
Um,
currently?
I don't know what's next on the horizon for us. Our biggest issue in the UAE right now is that we're obviously not citizens, so we can't represent the UAE at a category A level competition, because you have to be I think 30%, only 30% can be non-citizens according to CMAS. CMAS have brought a lot of rules and regulations, rightly so, trying to align themselves with the Olympic committees, with obviously the hope of one day becoming an Olympic sport. So I know there's qualifiers next year. Obviously with World Championships, so the elite level, those countries and all those different specific divisions around the world are going to be playing for their qualifiers to see who's going to form that Category A worlds and Category B worlds. Asia Cup in 2 years' time, but right now, from the UAE perspective, we're probably looking at building a team to go to. There's a tournament in Slovenia that happens in February.
Yes.
So we were just there. Abu Dhabi sent a team there, and now with the build up and the hype around the UAE team, we've got lots of our players from Dubai as well who want to go.
Yeah.
So we're looking at a tournament either in Slovenia, a tournament in Breda in Netherlands. The club tournament there has been won, and also looking at a couple of tournaments in Turkey. So
Wow.
for the UAE perspective, that's what we're looking at as future club tournaments for ourselves.
That's a pretty kind of globe-trotting kind of tournament that you got there. I like it.
We've got lots of players who are keen to travel and keen to do this thing now. We've had a few of our players who were in Barcelona. I did the Slovenia trip, obviously, and a couple of our players have done Turkey as well. So once you get that bug of traveling and playing underwater hockey, it becomes very addictive. So if you're in the right profession and you have the right money, you can play underwater hockey pretty much everywhere in the world at some stage.
It's fantastic. And what other sport is there that kind of gives this level of
No, not one that can allow you to have this much fun and meet the people that you can meet. It's such a global community that we have, and I mean, I'm still friends with the guys that I toured with back in 2008, 2009 for my first worlds, and from all different teams. So it's an amazing sport, and just allows you to really open up and see the world.
amazing? What a way to sign off. Thank you so much for your time. It's been
Yeah,
fantastic. I've really enjoyed this.
thanks, Alex.
And anything we can do to kind of just show everyone what the sport's like is amazing, and there's none better to us than Didn't you? Of course. Thank you.